What's up, everyone? We're going to be going to the best NBA player props on PrizePicks today. Now, don't forget to like this video, as it does let me know to continue to give you free picks every day. So make sure to like this video, clicking that button down below. And if we get 600 likes, I will do another video for tomorrow. Now, I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group. And as you guys see, we actually got 20 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. Now, a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We only got 2 picks wrong and got 20 right, which is a 97% win rate. Yes, guys, you heard that right. 97% win rate. So we're on a huge hot streak. But if you want to get a 97% win rate and get 20 picks right like me, win more bets and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon. Should be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $5,085 just yesterday. Another member who won $300 for the 7th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description. So go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group. And I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So quick shout out to Ralph Cox 1387 who said, just found out this page. Good luck, everyone. Just subscribe. So shouts out to him. And if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below in this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. All right, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're going to be talking about is none other than Anthony Davis. So Anthony Davis, great player, as we all know. However, this one is for 40.5 points, rebounds, and assists, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Anthony Davis, we have actually seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at these 5 games, it is pretty interesting to see. We saw on December 6th, faced off against Oklahoma City Thunder, had 16 points, rebounds, and assists there. Then December 7th, faced off against Houston Rockets, had a 39 points, rebounds, and assists game there. December 13th, faced off against Brooklyn Nets, had 41 PRA, or points, rebounds, and assists, had a 31 PRA against Detroit Pistons on December 19th, and then on December 21st, faced off against Philadelphia 76ers, and had a 41 PRA there. So when we look at Anthony Davis over the last 5 games, we have seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5. But we also have seen when it comes to Anthony Davis is that his average over the last 5 is 33.6. So this is significantly below the line. And even when you look at the times that he has gone on the over, we only see that he has gone over only by 0.5. So it hasn't really been that too convincing enough to us coming into this matchup. But we do know Anthony Davis and Dallas Mavericks have themselves a very good matchup against the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, looking at where both these teams do lie, Dallas Mavericks have gotten off to a pretty poor start to the season. A lot of NBA and also NBA fans were expecting Dallas to do very well, but right now they currently sit at the 11th spot in the Western Conference. So they've actually struggled quite a little bit. They also have a record of 11 wins, 18 losses. That's a 37.9% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 8-9 from home, 3-8 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So it definitely has been a bit of a struggle for Dallas Mavericks so far this season. And they face off against the New Orleans Pelicans, where New Orleans Pelicans don't really do that much better because the Pelicans come in at the 15th spot in the Western Conference. They have a record of 7 wins and 22 losses. That's a 24.1% win percentage there. On top of that, they are 5-12 from home, 2-10 from away, and are currently on a 4-game win streak. So very interesting to see there. Obviously, looking at Anthony Davis, we have definitely seen, coming into this matchup, we've seen him pretty much perform pretty poorly, but now they face off against the Pelicans. And looking at Pelicans when it comes to where they do rank when it comes to points, rebounds, and assists, we first see that New Orleans Pelicans rank 27th when it comes to points allowed. So they allow 122.5 points per game. So they allow a lot of points. Unfortunately, when it comes to assists allowed, we see somewhat of a similar story, as we do see New Orleans Pelicans allow 28.8 assists per game, and then rebounds allowed. We see, unfortunately, the Pelicans do rank somewhat a bit higher, but still somewhat low, as they rank 20th in rebounds allowed and allow 44.9 rebounds per game. So it definitely has been a bit of a struggle for New Orleans Pelicans. However, why do we like the under for this situation here? Now, a big reason being is that when we look at Anthony Davis and the New Orleans Pelicans, we do actually see when it comes to New Orleans, they actually do a fantastic job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the center position. So for that reason, we do very much like the under for this situation here. Pelicans have shown time and time again that they do a great job, especially against, as I've mentioned, against bigs. And we definitely are expecting a lot of the attention to be on someone like, Anthony Davis coming into this game. Anthony Davis, great player, as we all know, but we have also definitely seen him struggle quite a bit over the last 5. Even though some of the games, as I mentioned, he has gone on the over, he's only gone on the over by 0.5, as I've mentioned, and we don't really just see that being enough to see someone like Anthony Davis do it against, New Orleans Pelicans. So we actually have seen him, struggle against teams in the past, and coming into this matchup against New Orleans, we are expecting, pretty much a similar situation coming into this game. Now, when we look at actually what the betting pros do have him at, now looking at betting pros, they actually have him for 39.5 points, rebounds, and assists. So we actually have him at 40, which is definitely kind of a little bit in our favor there, because we got that little extra 0.5, 1 pretty much. But looking at Anthony Davis, we do actually see that his projection is projected to be 44. So they actually haven't projected for the over. However, we are going against the grain here, and we are definitely sticking to the under for this, due to the reason that we have just seen Anthony Davis not really do too well, and the fact that he does, unfortunately have a lot of injuries and has already experienced injuries throughout this Dallas season. What we have seen with Anthony Davis's playing minutes and all that, we have definitely seen him take a little bit more of a lighter sort of role, restricting in some sort of games when it comes to minutes, and we definitely see that affecting this game greatly. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for it. As I mentioned, yes, we may be going a little bit against the grain here or against our projection, but when you look at the last 15, it becomes very, very obvious why we do like the under. He's definitely hasn't really hit the over quite consistently. He's actually gone on the under in 60% of those games. So that's why coming into this next one, it is more favored for us to go on the under here. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for Anthony Davis here. So Anthony Davis, 40.5 points, rebounds, and assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so let's get straight into the next pick. And talking about the next pick, we're going to be talking about AJ Mitchell. So he's been a great player for Oklahoma City Thunder, but this one is a great one for 12.5 points, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at AJ Mitchell, we have actually seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, we see on December 8th, faced off against Utah Jazz, had 7 points there. December 11th, faced off against Phoenix Suns, had 9 points in that matchup. Then 9 points against San Antonio Spurs on December 14th. After that, December 19th, faced off against LA Clippers, had 16 points. Then December 20th, faced off against Minnesota Timberwolves and had 14 points there. So we actually have seen, when it comes to actually AJ Mitchell, we have seen him go on the under, unfortunately, quite a lot, or 3 out of the last 5. Now, his average over the last 5 is also 11, so that's also something to be aware about as well. But that is also under this line. But looking at their matchup, they do actually face off against none other than the Memphis Grizzlies. So looking at the actual rankings between both of these teams, obviously starting off with OKC. OKC have done a fantastic job so far this season. But when it actually comes to AJ Mitchell, what we have seen when it comes to AJ is that we have actually, seen him do a great job for this Thunder team, because they currently rank first in the Western Conference, and they have a record of 25 wins and 3 losses. Now, when it comes to recently for Thunder, they did most recently lose to Timberwolves, and although they are still the number 1 seed, when it comes to them actually beating the all-time season record, the chances are looking more slimmer since they did lose. lose that. But still, they are the number one team. They have an 89.3% win percentage there, 13-0 from home, 12-2 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. Now, looking at their matchup, as we mentioned, they face off against none other than actually, Memphis Grizzlies. And Memphis Grizzlies on the other side are also in the Western Conference, but they've also struggled a little bit because they currently rank 9th in the Western Conference. So it definitely has been a little bit tough for them. Not only do they rank actually 9th, but they also have a record of 13 wins and 15 losses. So that's a 46.4% win percentage there. On top of that, we also do see they're 6-8 from home, 7-7 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very interesting to see. Looking at Grizzlies, they definitely have struggled quite a little bit. Now they are very close to getting into that top 8, but right now they are still fighting to get into that top 8 for sure. Now looking at OKC and their matchup, which is against Memphis Grizzlies. Looking at Memphis and where they do rank defensively, we do actually see that Memphis Grizzlies do come in at the 14th spot when it actually comes to points allowed. So we have actually seen them, do a somewhat decent job, even though they aren't, the best team when it comes to ranking wise, but they actually have done a really, really good job at actually, restricting points. They do only allow actually 115.7 points. So, they actually don't really allow a lot of points. Now, when it comes to AJ Mitchell's role in this OKC team, we do also know that AJ, unfortunately, isn't really the main player and isn't really the main scorer. He tends to be a little bit more of that second type role where he just provides, kind of secondary or even the third option type scoring at times. And especially with Jalen Williams now back in the lineup, it's definitely been very hard for AJ Mitchell to really shine and really stand out. Now, he did have a great early start to the season, but we have seen his usage rate drastically shift ever since injuries have kind of, uplifted for OKC. And coming into these next games, we are still expecting AJ Mitchell to be a little bit on the lower side, unfortunately. And when we look at Memphis Grizzlies, we do also see that Memphis do a fantastic job at actually restricting points. So they've actually done a great job at actually restricting points to the guard position as well, which is definitely evident. And coming into this next matchup, we do very, very much like the under for someone like AJ Mitchell here. Now, AJ's not only done a great job throughout the, regular season and at times, but it's definitely against much easier matchups that he has scored above this line. We have seen him do that time and time again, but now with a matchup like Memphis, who do a fantastic job against points in general and against points against guards, we definitely see him going on the under here. Now, looking at AJ Mitchell, obviously we have him at 12.5 as we mentioned. Now, we do actually see AJ Mitchell on other betting books are actually here at 128 at 10.5. So they actually have a negative 128 to go on the under. So they actually have a more favorite to go on the under, and that is at 10.5 as well. So that is pretty insane to see. The fact that this line is actually lower than the line that we actually are projecting for, which is 12.5 on PrizePicks, and the fact that it's still favored for the under really does work out in our favor there. So we definitely do very much like that. Now, when we look at the projection, their projection is a little bit interesting, but they haven't projected for 14.2. So they actually haven't projected for the over. However, we are going to be going against this and going on the under for sure. Although Grizzlies and also Thunder are pretty fast-paced teams, we are still definitely expecting the under for a situation like this coming into this game, due to the fact that when you look at someone like AJ Mitchell, yes, he has done a great job time and time again, but what we also do know is that he isn't the main scorer, unfortunately, and there are other players in this OKC team that will probably do a lot more of the scoring and definitely, unfortunately, take away from someone like AJ. So coming into this matchup, we do very much like the under for this situation for Mitchell coming into this game. And with everything being said, AJ Mitchell 12.5 points for less, I think, is a fantastic pick. All right, so let's get straight into the next player, and we're going to be talking about PJ Washington. So PJ Washington, great player, as we all know. Now, this one is a fantastic one for points and rebounds. So this one is actually a combo, 4 points and rebounds for actually 23, and this one actually is for more. Now, looking at PJ Washington, we have seen him go on the over in 2 out of the last 5 games, with one of them actually being a push. Now, looking at those 5 games, we do see December 7th faced off against Houston Rockets, had 21 points and rebounds there. Then December 13th faced off against Brooklyn Nets, had 17 points and rebounds in that matchup. December 16th faced off against Utah Jazz, had 39 points and rebounds. Then 20 points and rebounds against Detroit Pistons on December 19th. And then faced off against Philadelphia 76ers on December 21st and actually had 23 points and rebounds. Now, what I mean by 23 points and rebounds as being the push is that he actually hit exactly on this line. So he didn't go over. He didn't go on the under, but technically we will still count that as a make, which is why we said 2 out of the last 5. But his average over the last 5 is also 24. Now, looking at this matchup, we do also know that Dallas Mavericks have themselves a very, very good matchup against none other than actually New Orleans Pelicans. So, we have touched on this matchup before, but just quickly remind you both again, when we look at these two teams, starting off with actually Dallas. Now, Dallas have definitely, struggled a little bit so far this season, but they find themselves in the actual 11th spot in the Western Conference. They actually have a record of 11 wins and 18 losses. That's a 37.9% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 8-9 from home, 3-8 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So it has been pretty interesting to see for Dallas Mavericks. They have tried their best to really claw their way back, but they have definitely struggled just a little bit. Now, looking at the Mavericks, they face off against the New Orleans Pelicans, where the Pelicans do come in at the 15th spot in the Western Conference. So Pelicans, as we mentioned before, they are doing really, really poorly. They are lost in the Western Conference. They have a record of 7 wins, 22 losses. That's a 24.1% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 5-12 from home, 2-10 from away, and are currently on a 4-game win streak. So it has been pretty interesting for the Pelicans. They've also tried their best to see if they can claw their way back. It is still somewhat early on in the season, but stating where they are right now, it has been pretty poor from them. Now, looking at New Orleans Pelicans, this is obviously a points and rebounds line. So looking at New Orleans Pelicans and where they do rank for points, they actually rank 27th, allowing 122.5 points. So they do allow a lot of points there. Then looking at rebounds, we do see that the Pelicans rank 20th, allowing 44.9 rebounds per game. So Pelicans rank very, very low when it comes to restricting points and restricting rebounds. And a big reason as well why we do like the over for this situation here is that we actually see that Pelicans do a really poor job at restricting points and rebounds to actually PJ's position. Now, when we look at someone like PJ Washington, yes, we have seen him struggle a little bit over the last 5 games. But you do also have to realize he has faced off against much tougher matchups and has definitely played games where his usage rate has fallen quite a bit. So that's why coming into this next game, we are expecting a little bit of a different story. We are expecting PJ Washington to have himself, quite a lot of a better game, especially against a matchup like New Orleans Pelicans, who do also allow a lot of points, rebounds, and a lot of those too in his actual position as well. So we should see PJ not really struggle too much coming into this matchup. Now, when we also look at the pace of this game, we are expecting New Orleans Pelicans to actually speed up the pace as much as they can, and Dallas are still somewhat a pretty fast-paced team. So we could actually see, a little bit more pace, which could actually lead to a lot more volume for someone like PJ Washington, especially since he is in a position where, he does score quite a bit, also rebound quite a bit as being some of his main sort of usage rate categories compared to points, rebounds, and assists. So, as I mentioned, he has faced off against tougher teams lately. It's brought this line now very, very low, that now there's a lot more value actually to go on the over. Now, looking at PJ Washington and what betting pros actually had to say, now we had it here 23.5. So they actually had it slightly, a little bit higher at 23.5. We have ours at 23 flat. And they still have it favored for the over as well. Okay, they have it at minus 130, which I think is great. So they have it favored for the over, which I think is great there. And we have been going against the projections as of lately, and we are going to go against projections once again because the projection is actually 22.4. 4 for points and rebounds. We like the over for this one, and we are more leaning towards what the bookies are saying here. Now, looking at the last 15, as I mentioned, he has faced off against much tougher teams as of lately, slower paced teams, greater defensive matchups, and now with the matchup like New Orleans Pelicans, it should be somewhat of a breeze for someone like PJ Washington here. Now, he has definitely done a great job time and time again, but looking at someone like PJ, we shouldn't really see too much of a struggle coming into this matchup. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for someone like PJ Washington, because you are expecting a pretty high usage rate game from him here. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for this one. PJ Washington, 23 points and rebounds for more, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting into the next pick, we're going to be talking about none other than actually Cam Spencer. So Cam Spencer, great player for the Memphis Grizzlies, and this one is a fantastic one for points and assists. So this was actually a combo one for 23.5, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Cam Spencer, we have seen him go on the under in actually 1 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, we do see something pretty interesting, because we saw December 16th faced off against the Los Angeles Clippers. In that matchup, actually had 24 points and assists there. After that, December 8th faced off against Portland Trailblazers at that, had 18 points and assists. Then 24 points and assists against Utah Jazz on December 13th. December 16th faced off against LA Clippers and had 33 points and assists, and then 30 points and assists against Washington Wizards on December 21st. So when it comes to Cam Spencer, yes, he has actually done a pretty good job over the last 5, and his average over the last 5 is also 25.8. However, Cam Spencer does find himself in a pretty interesting matchup, because Cam actually faces off against none other than Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, it is definitely going to be an exciting matchup between both of these teams, but if you don't know already, Memphis Grizzlies face off against a number 1 OKC team, because starting off first with Memphis Grizzlies, we will mention Memphis Grizzlies come in at the 9th spot in the Western Conference. They've, have struggled just a little bit, and currently have a record that puts them in the 9th spot with a 13-win, 15-loss record and a 46.4% win percentage. Now, they are also 6-8 from home, 7-7 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak, and they face off against Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, OKC are in a little bit of a different situation, because OKC have absolutely bowled out, actually finding themselves in the number 1 spot in the Western Conference. They've had a record of 25 wins and 3 losses, and also have an 89.3% win percentage there. Now, they are 13-0 from home, 12-2 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very, very interesting to see there. Obviously, looking at someone like Oklahoma City Thunder, we have definitely seen them do a great job. And although they did lose, one of their most recent games against Timberwolves, which have knocked them off on being able to achieve the greatest record of the season, their chances are still alive, but it is starting to get a little bit slimmer and slimmer. But coming into this next matchup, they are definitely trying to play their heart out. Now, as we mentioned before, Oklahoma City Thunder are a number 1 team, but looking at them defensively, they also put up a great fight, because they actually rank number 1 when it comes to points allowed, only allowing 106.4 points per game. And assists allowed, they also do only allow, or they do rank second, first of all, and they only allow 23.7 assists. So, OKC, they are the number 1 team for a reason. They are one of the best defensive teams, not just this season, but that we have seen in a while. And they've been putting on an absolute, show. When we look at Oklahoma City Thunder as well, we also do see they do a fantastic job at restricting, points and assists to the guard position. And for someone like Cam Spencer, although he is a great player, that is definitely going to be a huge problem for him. Now, Cam is a fantastic player for this team. His usage rate does remain pretty decent, but what we do know about Cam, I wouldn't say he is a star player for this, Memphis Grizzlies team. And because of that, we are expecting him to take a back seat in a matchup where Thunder just inherently do a great job at restricting points and assists. So because of that, Cam Spencer could see, his actual usage rate decrease quite a lot. We could actually see that affect that greatly, which could definitely lead to the under for someone like Cam coming into this game. And looking at someone like Cam Spencer, over these last 5 games, yes, he has done a pretty good job. But as we've always mentioned, matchups, that's what's most important. And with a matchup against OKC, it may be a very different story. Now, looking at, betting pros and what they actually have to say about it, obviously we are looking at points and assists. And we do see that when we look at points and assists, we see that they have it at 22.5. So we actually have it at 23.5. So it is a little bit of a better situation for us. What we also do know when it comes to this is that they actually have him favored for the under as well. And this is at 22.5. So the fact that we have him at 23.5 on PrizePicks is actually a huge benefit to us. It even puts it more likely or more in the favor to go on the under in this situation here, which I think is great to see. And when we look at his projection by betting pros, we see that they actually have him at 15 points and assists, and also that is the under. So coming into this matchup, it is definitely going to be an exciting one, but we do very much like the under for this situation here. And, they definitely agree with us when it comes to projections and also what the bookies are saying. Now, when we look at the last 15 games, yes, as we mentioned, he has done a great job as of recent, but there's a little bit of recency bias there, because when you look at the last 15, you start to see a little bit of a different story, or he's actually gone on the under in around 75% of those games. So, overall, he has done a great job for this team, but his usage rate does remain low, especially against tougher matchups. And I think that his most recent matchups where he has been able to go on the over here and there, it's definitely just taken a little bit of an inflated sort of line for this, which has definitely led to the under, or what we are expecting to lead to the under for someone like Cam Spencer. Now, OKC, Thunder, and Memphis, although both are pretty fast-paced teams, Thunder's defense is definitely just going to be a massive problem. And, the fact that they do a great job against guards, we should see them be able to stop him pretty quickly and pretty efficiently in this matchup for sure. Now, for someone like Cam Spencer, I definitely would keep an eye out for the under for this line. And, the fact that the data and the stats really do align with us there, it does just give us more confidence on why we do like the under for this situation here. So, for that reason, Cam Spencer, 23.5 points and assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick.